one thing that they did was sometimes we would try to challenge ourselves. I remember we would have something called an internal goal. Like, I want to practice patience. I want to practice perseverance. I want to meet God. That was me. Hi, my name is Kyungwhi Sakuwa. I'm a third-gen member of this movement, and I'm 22 years old. I just actually graduated from Next Gen Mission after doing like 3 years on the program. And now I'm going into UPA, Universal Peace Academy in South Korea. I really like the principal because I really like fundamental things. Principle was really cool because I felt like if I understand the principles of the universe, I can use it to solve a lot of problems and help people. My family moved to South Korea when I was 9.5. And after we moved, I got to experience a lot of love going to church. During that time, I was reading Reverend Moon's autobiography, so I could see his course in life. He received like this calling from God and responded. And I felt similarly. And from around 4th grade, when I was 10, 11 years old, I felt that if I wanted to, I could take that step as well. And maybe I wouldn't be in the same position, but I could dedicate my life to God. That was the challenge because I didn't feel like I was like completely in. I wasn't like fully like invested. So I feel like it was like a slowly boil, like a pot that was boiling slowly over time. That eventually, when I was 17, it boiled over. And I convinced myself that religion was bad for the world, which is for me, it's an interesting idea now. Being someone who has gone through like a kind of journey, I feel like the thing that I was struggling with the most was whether or not I'm going to make this decision or not, whether I'm going to commit to God or not. And I was so afraid of this idea of taking responsibility that I was finding any reason I could not to. And another thing that made it difficult was that I wasn't fully open to my parents. If I could go back, maybe that's one piece of advice I'd give to myself. Just talk to your mom and dad about it. Because I think when I bottled those things inside, I let them like pile up. Any like resentment or questions I had. So eventually it did reach that point where I felt like anything that was bad, like it was because of God or because of like the movement. But in reality, it was just, I was not really facing my challenges. I wasn't taking responsibility for my life. And that, of course, didn't leave me in a good place. I remember I felt it growing, like in my heart, I felt like I was missing something slowly, like bit by bit. Like the experience itself was difficult, but then I could tell like my heart was like, I feel like it was shrinking, or like it was not as like open or like loving towards other people. I remember like one of the justifications that I had for leaving the movement was that I could actually have more time to help people. Because if I wasn't going to church or doing different ceremonies, then maybe I'll be able to, invest into doing a service project or studying more so I could be more helpful in the future. But in the end, I noticed that the less I did the things that I was doing before, like the more time that elapsed, the longer it had been since I left the movement, the less I felt like I wanted to give to other people. So it was sad. I was like, oh my goodness, what's going on? Or I felt really like, I didn't like that feeling. Like, oh, I feel like I'm not being the person I'm meant to be. So that's why, I think during that year, actually, I think God guided me to open my heart to religion again. It was slow. And I think it was a combination of feeling this myself, that actually so much had been given to me by God and by being with my family in the movement. Maybe I made a rash decision. I began to search. My heart was more open to religion now than the past year. And I was, even looking online at different theories. How did the universe start? Like the Big Bounce theory, if anyone knows. Sorry, I shouldn't say that. The Big Bounce theory, for example, I looked into, things like that. But all of it didn't make sense. None of them seemed to have an answer. So I was kind of stumped on the scientific angle. But I think overall, the community, like religious aspects, I started to open myself up to a lot during that time. Like, yeah, the community is there. I could feel this special love, like familial love from the people in the church and the community. And then actually, after my first semester in college, I wanted to take a gap year to figure some stuff out because I was going to college without I felt like a clear sense of purpose. I wasn't studying, I feel like growing up I was more clear, okay, for God, like kind of hypothetically, that's kind of how I operated when I was younger. Okay, if God exists, like I want to do good, I want to do a good world, but not fully committing to it yet. I want to, if I was going to go into computer science, which was the field I was studying, then I want to do it so that I can make a better world for everybody. But when I was studying in college at that time, when I was studying in college, I didn't have that purpose. I didn't have a clear sense of purpose. And that made it difficult for me to do anything, like studying for like credits and things like that, because I didn't see the meaning behind it. I was thinking, okay, maybe there's no point. Why should I do good when I feel like there's no good in the world? And that's why when I eventually decided, okay, I want to take a gap year, I told my dad, I was calling my dad, can I take a gap year to like figure things out for a little bit? He was like, you should try to finish at least 1 year so you know what it's like before moving on. So I was like, okay, then I'll do that. I did another semester. So I did a year of college, and then I still felt I want to find what is my purpose? Why am I here? And I was around 19 years old at the time. So about 2 years later from that, when I was 17. And that's when I took a gap year. I went to a 40-day workshop in Cheonpyeong in South Korea. During that time, I was very fortunate to get to meet a brother, a man from Generation Peace Academy, and he was there with the rest of the group, and I had the opportunity to talk to him about going to Generation Peace Academy potentially the next year, because GPA, Generation Peace Academy, is a yearly program, so it goes for around a year. So during that time, I talked to him, and Dentyu, I call him Dentyu Hyung meaning like older brother in Korean. So I said, Dentyu Hyung, I'd like to talk to you. And he explained to me like what the program's about. I explained my situation, searching for purpose, wondering if God exists. And he said, it's perfect. You should come, and maybe you can find an answer. So that's why that year, in August, I flew to America. And that was the beginning of my 3 years of mission work in the States. One thing that they did was sometimes we would try to challenge ourselves. I remember we would have something called an internal goal. Like, I want to practice patience. I want to practice perseverance. I want to meet God. That was me. I wanted my faith in God to be something that that no one could deny. I wanted it to be something that I could prove. Like, if somebody asked me, okay, why do you believe in God? I could sit them down and explain it to them. Like, okay, this is the reason why. But actually, what I learned, and looking back now, what I can see is that faith in God isn't something that is like a mathematical equation. Maybe one day we'll get to prove God exists through math. Maybe some people are already doing that. But for me, what actually helped me to find God, to know that no matter what I experience, that no matter what I've gone through in my life, God exists, was my own firsthand experiences with God. And my first experience with God, where I could clearly see God is working and God is alive, was on that day that my captain, my team leader, challenged me to challenge God. And I did. I remember we were in a parking lot, and I was the last person to be dropped off to start asking people if they'd like to support. And that time, he asked me, okay, Kyungwhi, how are you going to challenge God? And I thought about it, and then actually my team leader said he was going to go fundraise with me, which doesn't usually happen, so I was kind of excited. But he left me with that question, and as I was getting out of the van and closing the door, walking up to him, he asked me the question. I'm thinking, like, what do I do? What am I going to do to challenge God? And he asked me the question again, Kyungwhi, what are you going to do to challenge God? And so I just say the first thing that comes to mind. Somebody's going to do a flip. Eventually I realized, okay, it's probably super unlikely that somebody is just randomly going to be doing a backflip in a parking lot in this area. So what I did was I started asking people. Like, I would ask them, oh, would you like to support this program by maybe making a donation? And then afterward, I'd ask, okay, they'd be like, okay, thank you, that's all right. Okay, can you do a flip? And then you can imagine people's reaction when, like, in a, I don't know, random place, a kid holding posters is like, can you do a flip? So yeah, anyway, it was fun. But I didn't meet anyone who could do it, or said they would do it, at least. And then about a little over halfway through our time, because we have like a certain amount of time we can fundraise for, I see in the distance a fitness center. There's a fitness center looming in the distance. And, fitness centers usually have like a big parking lot. So we're walking toward it. And then there's this one lone gentleman walking outside of it, in our direction. And I remember hearing my captain, he said, okay, that's the guy. So I'm like, okay, that's the guy. So I just go, okay, let's do it. Let's go talk to him. So I approach him and ask him, okay, hi, it's nice to meet you. And then introduce us that I'm doing a fundraiser for our program. And then at the very end, I ask him the same faithful question. He doesn't support, but I ask him the same question. Can you do a flip? I ask him. And then he says, well, it's been a few years, and I'm like, oh my goodness, this guy's actually going to do a flip. And then my captain is taking out his phone and jumping up and down, getting ready to record everything. And I'm like, oh my goodness, what's going on? And then I ask him, are you sure? Are you sure you can do it? Are you sure? And he's like, yeah. It's been a few years, but yeah. He takes off his cap and puts down his water bottle. I can see him. He's getting ready into the back flip pose. And I'm like, oh my goodness, wait, okay, it's actually happening. Are you sure? But then, as he's getting ready, he's crouching down to actually do it. I see him. He's starting to bend down, and then he pauses for a moment, and then he goes, actually, yeah, it has been a few years, yeah, so maybe not this time. But yeah, he picks up his bottle and his cap, and he gives a $5 donation, and then he goes on his way. But that time, I still felt what just happened? I was like, okay, maybe something is happening. Maybe God is real. Maybe actually I have hope. Maybe I don't have to prove God exists through science, or something like that. Maybe I can actually just know that God exists through my life. Anyway, throughout the rest of that fundraising time, I didn't meet anyone who could do a flip. But when I returned to the van, that's what I was feeling. Oh my goodness, maybe God is real. So that was kind of a seed. After having done 3 years on mission, I was wondering what to do. And yeah, it was the decision of whether or not I'm going to go to Universal Peace Academy, which is a 6-year collegiate and missionary program based in South Korea, where you study about the movement, become a youth leader. And those were some big shoes to fill. And that wasn't a easy decision. Actually, I still, for a while, was wondering, should I go, should I not go? But in the end, I feel God is calling me there. I wish maybe I hadn't been so... I wish, looking back, I hadn't been so arrogant. So I have some regrets still. I wish I had talked to my parents. I wish I had done all these things. But I know that all the experiences I had, from telling my parents I wanted to leave, to God guiding me to open my heart to religion, to finding God finally on program and mission, and now being in this place where I feel like I can commit to dedicating my life to God and wanting to take even maybe leadership position in the future. I feel like right now I'm grateful. I'm grateful that God didn't give up on me. I'm grateful that not only did I get to experience all that I did, but that my parents, my family, all the people on program, the people I met in all the different communities across America and even in Croatia, took care of me and allowed me to get to this point. But I also feel a little nervous knowing that, yeah, there's going to be more challenges in the future. I'm just a 22-year-old guy with my spiritual birthday was like 2 years ago, something like that. Yeah. But I know that in the end, like if we keep going, then the world that, like I feel like the world that God envisions can be built, and it can happen. I just have to play my part.